All right, music fans, welcome. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. In this episode, I'm going to talk some real issues as well here before I get going. This book was on the shelf behind me, and now it's right here. I wanted to give it a plug, not that it needs my plug, but The Bodies of Others by Dr. Naomi Wolf. Now, I would consider Naomi Wolf somebody who's probably more left of center on some issues. But what's happened over the last 2.5 years, people are starting to get together who have different views on certain topics. And we're recognizing that if we don't stick together, we're all going to hang separately. I think that was Ben Franklin. Somebody smart said that. I'm probably wrong about who it was, but in any event, this is a really important book to read. All I can say is that it reads like fiction, but it's nonfiction, and it's scary, and it's a call to action, and it's a living, breathing, not changing, but it's a living, breathing document of the last 2+ years of anarchy, tyranny, and all that stuff, the medical stuff that I talk about from time to time. So anyway, The Bodies of Others, Naomi Wolf, great book, and you should grab a copy of it. It is selling well, despite the fact that it's not on certain bestseller lists. Just putting it out there. Who else is putting it out there? Steve Augeri, former Journey singer, has a brand new song out there. Holy crap, Batman. Yeah, it's that good. It's called Bated Breath. This single follows up his song that came out back in February called If You Want. Steve Augeri is just a great singer. His voice, after all this time, has held up remarkably well. I don't hear any audio tricks in the studio. The song is very rich, well produced, very smooth. It's more folky and poppy than it is arena rock. So this isn't really the kind of stuff he did with Tall Stories or with Journey. This is just a really good song by a really good singer. Now, this kind of dovetails with the opening where I was talking about Naomi Wolf's book. So back in February, following the release of If You Want, I wasn't going to say anything about this, but I just decided I'm going to do it. I reached out to Steve Augeri's team and I said, hey, I'd love to talk to Steve. He seems like a great guy. I've been a big supporter of his online on this channel. I've covered Steve Augeri when nobody else was really talking about him. And I think he just seems like one of the nicest guys, and people have told me, hey, you're right. I've met him. He's easy to talk to. He's very humble, very gracious. But his people apparently wanted to know, who else I'd interviewed, and if I had samples of those interviews, I could send along. So obviously I looked up a couple of links. One of those was the interview I did with Eric Clapton, and that was probably a mistake. Now, they came back with something like, you interviewed Eric Clapton? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, you know what he's been saying, right? You know what he's all about. It's almost as if, Eric Clapton was guilty of a violation of some 1984 principle, right? He wasn't saying double plus good. He wasn't pledging his allegiance to the state. And the way I look at things, it's like the medical state and the actual state seem to be one entity. And so they tried to be diplomatic and funny and just like, oh, well, I guess somebody had to interview him, LOL. I was like, okay. I knew at that point I was toast. I knew that was going nowhere. And look, the only reason I mention this is because I would love to talk to Steve Augeri about his new album. I think the interview would have been interesting because we could have covered those years when he was in Journey and what was going on and what that was like for him. There are, I guess, some amazing stories about how the fans weren't coping too well with the loss of Steve Perry. And it just would be interesting after all these years to get that interview and that perspective. But that's probably not going to happen. Also, it would be good to know maybe what happened that led up to the fact that Journey cut you loose. What happened to your voice? How's your voice doing today? Based on, his studio work, it sounds like his voice is doing really well. Bated Breath, brand new song from Steve Augeri. Sorry, my voice is kind of not doing so well myself here. The album is called 7 Ways to Sunday, or 7 Ways Till Sunday, and you can check it out over at steveaugeri.com. Anyway, this is what he says. We knew we were onto something very special because the goal for me was to have the lyrics match or surpass what I felt we had achieved musically, Steve says about the writing of Bated Breath. Dare I say it? But Susan, who is a co-writer here, Susan Piazza, added the woman's touch and another important perspective to the narrative, elevating the song to a whole nother level that would have never been attainable without her input. So lyrically, again, the song is very good, and you should check it out. So yeah, that's my video on the Steve Augeri situation. I still have a ton of respect for him, and doesn't mean I'm not going to talk about Steve anymore. I was thinking about, hey, maybe I shouldn't be talking about Steve Augeri, but life is short, and Steve's just a good guy and a great singer, and hoping the best for him. So I'm sure this album, which for some fans is long overdue. He's put out singles here and there over the years, but for a lot of fans, people are really going to be excited about a full album of new Steve Augeri material. Before I go, one more plug for The Bodies of Others, Dr. Naomi Wolf. I guess you could try to order this on Amazon, but I hear going directly to the publisher is probably a better thing to do. Maybe you have another way of ordering it. I did order it through Amazon, and it took a long time for me to get it, but I did get the book, and I enjoyed reading it. It was one of those things that once you start, it's hard to put down. It was a quick read, and I don't read quickly. So anyway, that's the video. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. More hard-hitting journalism coming your way from my humble little channel.